Hey, so this is my classroom, and I am a 5th grade language arts teacher at Holt Middle School. And so one of the first things that I'm going to show you that I'm using to support my ELs in my language arts classroom is our green and orange petals. And they look like this. Here's the orange side and the green side. And these actually are created to help our ELs be supported and take risks and kind of feel safe when they raise their hand or they need help. So over on my wall over here, as a reminder for my students that they have been trained, the reminder is that the orange means please help me and the green means I think I'm okay. So my ELs, as they are working in groups or individually, or even when we are doing whole group instruction times, those green and orange paddles are there to let us know that those students need us. It's a nice discreet way for them to say, hey, I need some help. Some students don't want to sit there with their hand raised for a while. Some are just very shy and don't want to, and so that's a nice way for them to let us know without drawing attention to themselves. The next thing that we are doing in my classroom is meant to promote a growth mindset and to show our students a visual of their growth. And so they will be tracking their reading levels not only in their reading notebooks with me, but also on our reading level wall. And so they'll be working in a RAS Kids program, and this information will be from our MAPS test that we are using here within the next few weeks. And so they will be tracking their reading levels with me in their notebooks and with markers on the wall. And let me grab one of those markers so you can see. I just use little colored, actually paint chips that you can get at the store and cut up. And so what we do is we put their initials and their period on the back, and that way nobody else but that student and myself knows that that is their marker. And so it's nice and discreet, but it allows the students to physically move their reading level up as they grow. And so it's a nice way for them to feel that growth and see that growth while they're tracking it in their notebooks as well. During times when we move those levels up, I will call my students over to my kidney bean table right here, and they will have a nice little celebration with me, and we'll move their markers up, we'll track it in their notebooks, and then of course I will provide them pause points. And so that's a PBIS reward that my school is implementing this year, and those pause points are the students can see them on their Chromebooks and on an application that we have. And so those pause points can be redeemed at a student school store that we have that they get to go to at lunch and in the morning as well. So they get to watch their reading levels grow, track it with me, and then they get to spend their rewards on cool things like pencils and erasers and things like that. The next thing that I'm highlighting that I do believe promotes growth with ELs is sitting with groups. And so you'll notice that all of my tables have 5 chairs. And of course they are crazy chairs. We've got yoga balls and wobble stools and pillow crates and tall stools. And then right now I'm at the table with the short white stools. And so my students are always traveling in groups when we are doing stations and we are working with the whole group or breaking off into pairs. No matter what, they are always working with at least one other student. Very frequently we are working within groups and they're not on their own. So it's generally groups of 5. My classes are pretty big, so groups of 5, and that lends itself very nicely to my next item, which is our structured student talk routines. So within those groups, a lot of times we will do think, pair, share. A lot of times we will do shoulder partner. So I'll say turn to your shoulder partner and talk, and then they'll turn to their group and talk. And so within those group experiences, we want our students to be reminded of what it means to be a good group member. And so we call this group norms in my class. And so on our wall, we have our group norms posted right here. So we ask that they stay with the group, listen to the speaker, contribute ideas, respond respectfully, and include everyone. And so this is something that we go through with my class day after day after day within the first week. When I see somebody working as a beautiful, good example of a group and practicing those group norms, I again make a big deal out of it, and I go ahead and provide them with pause points. And so this is a great way to remind our students of how they should be behaving in a group and what our expectations are for them. And of course, the pause points only reinforces that. So usually during the year, several times in the beginning, and then before we do bigger group activities, I remind them of those group norms, or I ask them to remind me of the group norms once they get them down. So far, they're doing great. And then last but not least, we are providing language supports in our classroom, and so right now they're bare bones. They're just now starting to grow because we are now just starting our vocabulary. But the first thing that I wanted to show you was the bell work. So when my students do bell work in my classroom, they come in and I ask them to answer a question. And so this is tomorrow's bell work. Let me see if I can get it behind me. And so I'm asking, how much time do we get for our daily 5 in Ms. Velios's class? And we get blank minutes for our daily 5 in Ms. Velios's class is the STEM that I have provided for them. Whenever I give them a bell work question, it's really to get them writing and thinking as soon as class starts. They are asked to write that sentence to answer that question at the beginning of every single class. So every week we have 5 bell works. And so every single day I will provide them with a STEM. Sometimes it is, I might ask them a personal question like, what did you eat for breakfast? So the STEM may be, today I ate blank for breakfast. Or I might ask them, what is something you enjoy to do for fun? And they might say, I like to blank. So I provide them those sentence stems so that they are able to start their sentences, and that way adding their own words is what's super important for them, and it makes answering those questions a lot easier for them. Especially when those questions become more content-based, having those sentence stems can be very, very helpful for them. And last but not least, for our language supports, we have behind me our alphabetized word wall, and I know there aren't any words on it yet, and that's because we have yet to finish our first vocabulary list. So when we finish a vocabulary list, those words will go up onto that wall, and they will have pictures accompanying each word. That way, students have a nice reminder of what those words mean as we add to our vocabulary throughout the year. So right now, the words that they are studying are on this thing right here, and we call this a word waffle. And the word waffle is a nice way for students to basically assess their own knowledge of our current vocabulary words. So in this quadrant, these are the words that they do not know. It says, I do not know this word. This quadrant, it says, I have seen or heard this word, but I could not use it or define it. So maybe they're words that they've heard adults use, but they don't know how to use them. This one is, I think I could use or define this word, but I am not sure. I'm not 100% sure. And then this quadrant, I can use and define this word. I know this word. And so they assess their own knowledge of the vocabulary on the word waffle. And then as they learn the words, of course, they start to move through the quadrants. We do lots of games with these words, spelling games, games that are having them use the words and define the words. And so this is a wonderful way that they can self-assess. And then again, as soon as those words are mastered and we have assessed over those words, they will move up to the big word wall where they will be alphabetized and accompanied by a photo. And also, we are doing again this year cross-curricular word walls. So there will be math words up on the word wall, there will be science words up on the word wall, and there will be social studies words on the word wall as well. So my team and I do a really good job of supporting each other. But so far, being the first weeks, we have yet to have words jump up on our word wall. These probably will be the first, along with some of the scientific method words and some of the place value words that they are learning. So that is coming very soon, but we do have it set up and ready to go. So that is my classroom. Thank you so much.